We've seen her as Madeline Ashton, an actor unable to accept the reality of aging in Death Becomes Her. She was a Polish immigrant and a Holocaust survivor in Sophie's Choice. And she struck fear into many an intern's heart as Miranda Priestley from The Devil Wears Prada, where she uses the most masterful, soul-crushing glance and pursed lips to rip your self-worth to shreds. These are just some of the many, many performances where Meryl Streep has taken a role above and beyond expectation. They call her the First Lady of Hollywood. A fitting title, seeing as she's a 3-time Academy Award winner and has been nominated 21 times, making her the record holder for the most Academy Award nominations of any actor. But here's a fun fact. Meryl Streep is actually a big introvert, preferring the comfort of her home to the glitz and glamour of the red carpet. According to a Vanity Fair article by Julie Miller, a lot of her confidence comes from her mother, who's encouraged her and championed her since she was young. But she does identify more as an introvert who would rather not say much in public. When asked about situations where she's required to step out into the spotlight, she says she uses visualization to get her through situations she'd rather not be in. She thinks about herself doing the thing she's hesitant to do, and that helps her power through. She said, and I quote, "It's a good thing to imagine yourself doing something you think you can't." She may be one of the best actors of our time, but on her days off, she'd rather be just okay, and that's okay. Everybody, and welcome back, and thanks for tuning in for another episode of You're Just Okay and That's Okay. This is episode 3, and we are going to be talking all about our favorite introverts. Being an extrovert myself, I've always been the kind of person who comes alive when I'm with other people. I love big festivals and celebrations where the air is alive with excitement and every single hair in my body picks up that electric feeling. I love conversations, I love gatherings, I love experiencing things with people, and this is how I recharge my batteries. But it wasn't until I was once told that I suck up all the energy in the room that I realized that not everybody was like me. It was an early morning in college, and I was excitedly blabbering on about something mundane, I'm sure, when a good friend of mine just could not handle all my energy at 7 a.m. I'm sure she wasn't trying to be mean, or maybe she was, who knows, but that was quite an eye-opener for me. That was when I realized that some people find renewal in solace. It was a foreign concept to me at that time, but since then, I've become a lot more sensitive about how other people may receive my energy, and through the years learned to ask my introverted friends about where their headspace is at before barraging them with my enthusiasm and zest for life. The two people we're going to be talking to today are introverts who work in fields that require a lot of interaction and face time. I found it fascinating that despite needing time away from people to feel rested and energized, they still gravitate towards the kind of work that requires them to be with people. After this quick break, we're going to go and meet AJ Bautista and Ysab Yuzon.
We met you. You were a dancer. You were with
Yes.
Air Dance, right?
Yeah, I worked in air dance, and then I met you guys in the subway dancing.
I really think it's
I
the best
remember-
meet cute. The best meet cute is how Polecat's Manila met Joe Bautista
Yeah,
in
it
the
was
train.
National Dance Day. I remember that. I fondly remember that. I think the first person I met was Mara.
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 Andres. I met Mara, and CD Ata was the second person I met. And I was just so enamored by just spinning. I wasn't even great at it, but I just was so enamored. And then eventually, you guys invited me. I don't know. You invited me to class, I guess. And then we eventually had a show in CCP.
What a jump, Anna. So we met on the
Right?
train, and then we
We met on the train.
performed in the Cultural Center of the Philippines. Not people. This is what
Yeah.
everyone does.
But we clicked so well.
Right.
And then I remember Amaya making
AJ
herself
and I
Amaya,
have
and she
known
has
each
like
other for
trace.
roughly a decade
And I
now.
had no
I'm a
shade.
founding member of an aerial arts school called Polecats Manila, and during International Dance Day, some of our members performed inside the LRT train. AJ was there with a performance group called Air Dance, and he saw us lift and spin and twirl, and thus began our friendship, quite literally, while defying gravity. A few years ago, he moved back to California to be with his family and to pursue other fitness avenues, and has since been thriving.
So I teach yoga. I've been teaching yoga for 5 years, practicing for 10. Um, I'm one of the trainers, so I do teacher training over here for Power Vinyasa. And then I teach Lagree, so I'm also one of our master trainers or lead coaches in my studio. So I help certify Lagree instructors and also teach classes. What else do I do? Pole dancing with Polecats, where I started 10 billion years ago. Funny because I started out as a classical artist. I took voice in UP Diliman. And I thought that I would be in a career where I would be on stage all the time. But life drew me to different paths. And I think it's great where I am. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, you know what I find super interesting? The other guest for this episode also thought that she was going to be in theater. But have you known for a long time that you are an introverted person?
No, I think it's only now that I started to understand how I re-energize, how I interact with people. And most of it is more of an introvert type of quality. It's interesting because like you said, the jobs that I do is quite an extrovert-esque type. You're always with people. You're social. You're interactive. You have to be. You have to be giving. But I also realize there are different types of introverts. So
What type are you?
I'm the type of person who likes being in smaller groups, who could be social, but who always usually says, "Hey, I'm not going to go out." But you gain energy by staying at home or staying by yourself. So I'm partly social. I'm an anxious introvert too, which basically means that you are conscious or you're self-conscious of what others think about you, even when you're at home. So you're always anxious. You're always anxious, no matter where you are.
Like you're
And then,
always aware of people around you, what they could be thinking, or how you
yeah,
are appearing. Is that
yes.
what I
And then
mean?
even if you're at home, that's what you think about. So you're still quite anxious.
Psychological studies have shown that when people act energetic or excited, it gives the brain a happiness boost, whether they're introverted or extroverted. Maybe this is why, despite being a naturally anxious person, AJ just couldn't ignore the call of the stage. Even at a young age, he already knew that he wanted to be in front of people, performing and taking on different personas.
Yeah, I knew like when I was doing splits in like the corridors of BCNHS, Baguio City High National High School, or when I was part of the choir and we were telling people to sing Little Mermaid and sing it on the side of their body like they're a mermaid. I knew that I wanted to do musical theater for the longest time.
But you were not shy. So you were not a shy person.
I don't think I was. Yeah. I don't think I was. I was shy with what I didn't know, but I was a go-getter. I think I was a go-getter. I knew what I wanted. I knew like I needed to do these creative outlets to get to where I needed to be. So yeah.
One of AJ's biggest roles was Angel in the play Rent. I asked him how he was able to manage his anxiety and introvertedness while taking on such a physically, mentally, and socially demanding job.
Each and every time I did the play, it almost seemed like I blacked out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because and I think like you were performing. I was simply performing through the sheer energy of it. You couldn't see anybody. That's one thing. I couldn't see anybody in the audience, and because of the music, because of the unless they turned on the light, like when we were doing Seasons of Love, that's when you finally like see more people. But generally, because of the darkness, you couldn't see people, and you couldn't pinpoint where people were, even though like you guys were there.
You're a very passionate person, but what is it that you want to share Or what is it that makes you constantly find jobs that involves teaching and imparting knowledge?
I think I've grown to love progress and see progress in others more so. Um, I think it's the empathic side of me when I see somebody struggling and know that they have full potential. And I think that's so gratifying. Is that the word? Um, to see them grow from that. I think it became an addiction. That's why I wanted to teach. I started out not wanting to be a teacher. Even with voice, I was like, I'm just going to perform.
Really?
I'm just going to perform because I'd rather just do what I do it at my best, be at my best, and then just disappear and be gone. Throughout doing dance and us having to work together in Polecats, where like for me to be at my best, my colleagues need to be at their best as well. So I started to coach them, or I started to impart what I knew, the little of what I knew, and then eventually it became a thing. I started to teach more and more and more, and give more and more and more. And I found more satisfaction in me giving, and then eventually I just became a teacher for life.
So
Yeah.
so you keep a small circle close, AJ? You're not the kind of person who has to surround yourself with friends constantly. Are you comfortable with? Can you say like you just really keep a very small circle of trust versus like barkada chat always all day?
Gosh, it's only been me and Katsi for the past 10 million years.
That's a very long time. You seem to be surrounded by the Polecats who are all energetic people, but the ones who are closest to you, or you would say would be your circle of trust, are more like you, would you say?
I'm a very weird introvert because my characteristics are quite extrovert because like I'm generally loud when I'm with you guys, but I think it starts to manifest when you see me like get tired, or it starts to manifest when I just suddenly escape. I'm not aloof, but I can't be all out there for a long amount of time. I think that's my introversion. Um, I
The
have
regeneration.
yeah, I need to regenerate by myself. I need time by myself, and I could only be in a social gathering for a certain amount of time. If in a social gathering, I can't be in a big group of people. It always has to be in a small, ano, in a small
Little pockets.
little pocket. So mga Polecats lang yan. Kami-kami lang. Tayo-tayo lang yan. In a good sense, it's good in being anxious, being an anxious introvert. You just have to find a proper way to balance. And I find my way of balancing by others, even if it's not socially. I mean, even if it's right online, like this, we could talk
Right.
and then 5 minutes and I'm gone. And that's all I need.
Ay, okay,
I know.
bye.
Okay, bye.
Oh my gosh, this is enough. I'm sorry.
And then that kind of segues into me also being a thinking introvert, which is basically self-reflective.
It comes as no surprise that AJ is constantly reflecting on himself and his experiences, since introverted people's brains show more activity in the areas that are usually associated with inward focus. This also becomes pretty apparent with our next guest. Just like AJ, Ysab finds herself inside her head a lot of the time, but she's found her own ways of managing the anxieties that come with having to interact with people.
I'm editor-in-chief of Candy. I also work with event director Paolo Valenciano. And I'm also just a person that, likes to chill.
How has it been being editor-in-chief of Candy?
It's super wild. Like, it's a major adjustment. Plus, it's the first time I'm running something that's not I'm not the market of. Then, in some ways also, a lot of it is more me than the other titles I've managed before. There's also like a part of me that feels more organic with it. With the topics. Like, we write about theater, pop culture. So parang, okay, it's me then naman and just, freaking 10 years younger.
What kind of research do you need to do to be able to know what they need, what they want, and give, to them?
The thing with them, the biggest thing, especially for us, is that they're all content creators in their own way because they grew up with Facebook pages, Twitter, and tweets. That's content. Instagram, that's content. So it's parang very give and take. So our culture now is we're not as editorial as we used to be. We're a bit more give and take with the community. Although Candy has always had that community aspect naman. I think that's why it was such a strong title for a lot of women, like girls and ended up becoming the CEOs, the business owners. Parang a lot of them grew up reading Candy. So that's why parang in a way we're more community driven. So now we have like a network of content creators called the Candy Rookies. I talk to them, I follow them on Facebook, on Instagram, I look at their posts, I look at their shares. Kasi parang iba yun eh. Iba yung what you post, what you share. Iba din yung where do you comment, whose posts do you like, who do you follow on your Finsta.
At this point, I started to really feel my age. I mean, what is Finsta? I looked it up and apparently it's a fake Instagram that you only share with your closest friends. It's a lot less edited, it's goofier, and more spontaneous content, which confused me even more because isn't that what regular Instagram is supposed to be? Well, I guess not. Man, I am a lot more out of touch than I thought.
Oh, so I actually thought I was an extrovert growing up just because I was always comfortable with speaking publicly somehow, like class recitations or class present,
Baka
whatever.
nerd ka lang.
There is that. Possibly. I wasn't like particularly shy. I was at a certain age, but I got over it. Then I'm pretty young. So that's why I always thought I was extroverted. In college, we had to take like a bunch of mga guidance tests every year. And then parang it would always come back, ay nga, parang I was an introvert, whatever. So I started learning more about it and I started understanding na, okay, so it's not so much the being social. I mean, that's what it affects. But it's also more about how you process information and how you parang manage your relationships, I guess, so to speak. That makes you an introvert rather than time spent with people or time chatting or X hours alone, X hours with other people. It's more of how you manage it. Parang ganon.
Then what exhausts you then? What drains that energy from you?
I always sometimes feel like I have to be on presenter mode if I'm explaining an idea. I'm very scared, especially now that I'm older and with the culture now and everything that's happening. I'm very scared of being misinterpreted. But at the same time, it's balancing it. Na I'm opening up myself to the fact that it will happen. People won't always completely understand you, and you can't I need to stop over explaining myself because that's what I tend to do nga often. So so it's more of that. So when I'm with other people, I do feel like I have to parang put on my I'm talking to a person mode versus me when I'm just home and I can be totally myself, and it's like. But you don't have to worry about how you look, about whether you have something in your teeth. So it's just really two modes, and I just really have to switch it on before I go out. And I can't, even if it's just delivery, parang, okay, I'm gonna see a person. I need to
Wait, as in, like, Lazada or Shopee?
Yeah. Parang, the doorbells there. That's why doorbells are very important. Like, ringtones, doorbells. Like, I like, my phone has customized ringtones, so I know if it's like a work call or I know if it's like a person in my life call, something like that.
So you have to basically have that moment of preparation. Like you have to steal your mind, even if it's just a millisecond.
Yeah, like a prompt. It helps to note that my mom was a flight attendant and a flight purser. So I also grew up with my mom telling me to constantly smile at people. Like she was all about the etiquette and the parang, hey, you better make sure you're respectful, whatever. So that's why there's also that, I think.
Does your mom talk to you like that? Is she on presenter mode? Do you notice?
My mom's just like a happy person. So it's natural din kasi for her. So I think that's why she doesn't realize that when she instructs me, it makes me anxious. Because to her, it comes naturally to her. So she's like, smile lang. To me, I'm like...
Your introvertedness, has it ever affected what you've chosen to do, or it's just a part of you and it doesn't matter. Parang it's not something you take into account when you choose what you want to do. It just so happens you are the way you are.
I think most people who become writers were observant first and then they realized, oh, they could write their observations. So I think the introvert part was what led me to becoming a writer. But because I wanted it to be my career, I learned the parts of it that wasn't natural, but things I had to do in order to excel and, go up the ladder also. Because kunyari, you from a writer, you become an editor, but you can't just become an editor if you're a good writer. You have to have a network, you have to build your credibility. So, in a way, I had to learn the more extroverted parts. But I also saw that, I kind of just leveraged what I learned about from being an introvert, which was like being more observant and stuff. I applied it somehow to kind of, and then I learned the extroverted parts. And I realized that combining it really helped boost me, my career, my confidence. And I probably started trusting people more then. And then that's what made me realize okay, I can work in events. But also, it's still more behind the scenes. That's what I realized too. I learned the difference between good stress and bad stress. And I realized that being on stage gives me a lot of anxiety. It's fun for once in a while stuff, but being a theater actor, for instance, is my calling. You learn din talaga what makes you, or what you're better at also, I guess. I just also wasn't naman the best, at theater. It was just something I like to do. Being introverted, I guess, just also really helped me, take my time in making some decisions.
I want to go back to when you said you started trusting people more. What did you mean exactly about that?
I was in my head a lot. I still am. I grew up with two brothers, but we have a huge age gap. So in a way, I was kind of like an only child in some days. Na parang I would have a lot of time home alone because they were in school, etc. They had their own lives and I was just at home. So I read a lot. I watched TV a lot, and then after watching, I'd analyze what I watched. So it was a lot of the things I learned about life. I learned through observing and reading rather than experiencing them myself. I was around old people most of my life. So when I started meeting people my age and started realizing that, we're peers, parang I can trust, yun nga. So parang that was when the network building became organic and real and natural to me.
You said you had two modes, right? You turn something on. When do you decide when a person is safe enough na you don't have to turn, to switch? Because I'm assuming these are the relationships that you kept close.
Yeah.
How do you choose when people are safe enough that you don't have to switch?
Of course, time is really a big factor there. It's not naman there's a test, diba, that parang you pass or something. So in some ways, it's a day by day. It's almost a day by day basis. But parang whether or not I'm on or off, I'm always honest. I guess that's the important thing to note. So it's not an on mode means you're faking it. An on mode just means parang you have to be conscious of how you're saying something. Parang ganun.
But you don't find extroverted people annoying.
My partner is the most extroverted person I know.
Oh.
He really has so much energy. He's the type that parang even until the minute before he sleeps, he has energy to expel. And then he'll just pass out.
So he doesn't have levels. He just has on off.
He'll really parang work himself until he's tired and then pass out. So for me,
God, he's like a toddler.
So for me, I don't find extroverts annoying, but I do find a lot of some people annoying. I guess it's not the extroversion I find annoying. It's the poor management of the extroversion that I find annoying. But to that point though, diba, there's a little bit of both naman din kasi in all. So I guess it's just really parang, that's why I feel like it's a very fluid thing na talagang okay, not to be like too like philosophical about it, but moment to moment lang naman talaga eh. Like you are who you are now, not like 5 years ago, and all you have is this moment. Like tomorrow's different. Adulthood has helped me be more comfortable with parang whatever. Just being cabs in
Do
life.
you find yourself a lot less conscious about things now?
Yeah. Or like if parang, yun nga, not was worried about being misinterpreted or awkward silences, awkward moments, or even if someone like doesn't, if I rub someone the wrong way, parang it doesn't really bother me. Of course, if I offended someone, if I was wrong, of course, take accountability and all that naman. But I'm just saying lang na parang I don't punish myself. I realize a lot of it was really me putting weight on certain things. You know that meme, if it doesn't matter in 5 years, it shouldn't bother you for more than 5 minutes, something to that extent. That like meme spoke to me. You know how there are memes that you just remember, and then you're like, wow, that
Pretty
meme
effective.
with the tie-dye font in the background and Comic Sans font, like, really changed my life. Sometimes it's the ones pa na pangit yung design na parang stop and think that. The parts of Pinoy culture, I mean, nga, there's good and bad in everything. I'm parang all about that, But for me, like, that's a really big Pinoy thing kasi we're really, especially for being girls, like, as in, oh my gosh, we really are taught to apologize for everything.
Right.
Like, we're really taught not to inconvenience people. But yun nga parang that's why I love being in my 30s, because one thing that helped me then realize was knowing that we all have different values and we put different weights on different things.
Mm-hmm.
So someone could be more offended by something and you wouldn't notice because to you, you're actually being respectful. Mga ganong things.
I have a friend who, believe it or not, has more energy than I do. She's just really like on all the time. She doesn't have an off button. It's really her personality to be on 100% all the freaking time. And when I'm with her, I feel really like, oh, I don't have to be the one, I don't have to be the one entertaining people and cracking things. And it feels good, huh? It feels, maybe that's what introverts feel like. Oh, maybe that's why you have extroverted friends. We're the ones who...
Yeah, you have an energy source.
Right. And kind of like a shield. People will just talk to them.
Yeah. That is true.
Right?
Shout out to all my extroverted friends. Introverts really do need parang some understanding na, whoa, we really can't be there all the time in an instant, So all introverts are different. So just always ask. Feel free to ask. Is it okay if I call you? Is it okay if we hang out tonight? Is it okay if we just always ask? And then I think naman they'll be honest eh. Sometimes it's just introverts are shy to speak up first. So there.
As I've gotten older, I have noticed that certain things I used to enjoy are no longer high on my list. Instead of staying out all night, I prefer the comfort of my home, lounging around in my pajamas. I've had less and less patience for small talk and idle chit-chat, and I prefer to go straight to the meaty stuff. While I do still quite enjoy large gatherings and celebrations, I also just as much enjoy small, intimate get-togethers in someone's home, where you have to take off your shoes and can enjoy moments of quiet together. It really does change, and there's no need for us to stay inflexible or rigid in one mold, because I guess there is no mold.
I believe like you only start living your life in your 30s. Everything starts to settle. You understand yourself better. So give yourself all of that time to explore, to discover. And introversion and extroversion isn't just something that's just set in stone that you are just one thing forever. It's a wave, and it goes up and down, and it changes here and there. Just follow that wave, flow along with it, and just enjoy. So yeah.
I love it. I think that one, I'll cut that, and then that's it. That's the show.
Okay, perfect. I think
Bye.
Bye. Franchise, see you soon.
Okay, see ya.